Many of us live incredibly busy lives, and we can often feel like we're just constantly running out of time. So naturally, our solution is to look for ways to complete our tasks more quickly. From grocery delivery services and 10-minute dinner recipes to the latest productivity hacks and 2-week workout challenges, we are always on the hunt for quick results. But I've found that the richness of life often comes in all the little moments in between, when we're forced to slow down, to take our time, to actually work for something. It was about 6 years ago at this point that Carson and I started experimenting with going to our local farmers market. This is now something that we do very regularly. We get the bulk of our food from the farmers market year round, but at that time it was a very new concept, and I remember feeling so frustrated when we first started going because of how slow everything was moving, especially the vendors. The vendors had no sense of urgency when they were checking people out. They were always asking, how's your day going? And it was like they wanted to get to know the people who were buying their vegetables, which of course now makes a ton of sense. But at that time, I was just so wrapped up in the hustle culture. I could not fathom why someone would take their time choosing which vegetables they want to try that week and actually communicate with the human standing in front of them. And then slowly over the course of that first year, I started to relax a little bit more when it came to the market experience. I think I realized that I would enjoy it a lot more if I didn't feel rushed in the process. It wasn't something that should be rushed. Oh my gosh, what a delight it was to really get to know all of the vendors, to take our time, to not be trying to hold all of these different things and check out and get the credit card and all of that stuff. It just really became a special ritual every week. And now looking back to 6 years ago, it's clear that this experience with the farmers market was really the catalyst for a lot of small shifts that I proceeded to make in my life. And the accumulation of all these small shifts has really led to a life of much less overwhelm and anxiety. Of course, I'm still busy. I'm a modern human. I run a business. I have a baby. But I do think that so much of that feeling of busyness and never having enough time is in our mindset and how we view things. I want to share some ways in which slowing down has transformed my life. These examples may not necessarily be applicable for you, or ultimately may just not make sense in your life, but hopefully they serve as inspiration. So, in no particular order, here we go. Of all the rooms in our house, our kitchen really is our sanctuary. This is where we spend the majority of our time, and we really do our best to not rush when we're in here in particular. And that starts first thing in the morning with the way in which we make our coffee. So we make a pour-over style coffee. This is what we use. It's a little Chemex knockoff. And here's the thing, is that we have tried lots of different types of coffee, as I'm sure many of you have, and just none of them are as good as a pour-over coffee. It takes longer, but it's so delicious and worth it. For many years, we just used K-cups, which are great from a convenience standpoint, and there's hardly any cleanup at all, which is really nice. They just didn't taste nearly as good. Taking just a couple moments more to make the type of coffee that we really truly love so that we can enjoy it is so worth it. Last time my mom was in town, I was making her coffee and she made a little comment like, geez, this is taking a really long time. And then once I gave it to her, she was like, oh, wow, that was worth the wait. Food is something that's really important to us and that we feel really passionately about. We feel that food has the opportunity to bring such joy and nourishment into our lives. And so we love getting food from the farmers market. We love learning about where food comes from and what food is in season when. And so of course, we also love to cook together, to try out new recipes, and to eat together as a family. We cook almost all of our meals here at home, which is why we're spending so much time in the kitchen, but it's really intentional time to bring us together. I've been with Carson over 9 years now, so we've certainly had our phases of heating up a quick frozen dinner and eating it in front of the TV, but I think we really feel so much more connected as a couple and as a family now with our baby when we take the time to make a meal together and to sit and enjoy it together and talk about the different tastes and the experiences that our senses are having as we're enjoying the meal. I I will say that I am quite lucky in that Carson is a fantastic chef, not professionally, but as a hobby. He's so creative in the kitchen and with different ingredients, and he hardly ever follows a recipe. Every meal is just always a 10 out of 10 for me. That is very nice, but I always so look forward to our time in the kitchen and our time around the table together. And just as a quick note for anyone who has a baby, we are still early in this process, so I'm sure we're gonna gain a lot of insights in the coming months, but our daughter is 6 months old, and so we've started her on solids. What has really been working for us is to try to integrate her into our mealtime as much as possible. Long before she was actually starting on food, we just had her sitting at the table with us to get her used to the idea that we sit around this thing together and we enjoy each other's company. And then once we started introducing food, we're trying to give her food that we are having as much as possible. So for example, we had a cauliflower soup. Before we salted it, we set aside a little bit for her, and she had that while we had the soup. So she's often having the same food as us at the same time as us. Not only does that just simplify the process of dinner and figuring out what it is that she's gonna eat, it also makes it so that we're all in the same routine together. It doesn't feel like, okay, we have to feed her and then bathe her and then get her in her PJs and then we have to make our food and then we have to eat and we have to get her to bed. No, we all do everything together, and it just feels like a very smooth, simple process. But again, it's still early days, but so far I'm really enjoying this flow that we're establishing as a family when it comes to mealtime. And of course, when you cook a lot and you eat at home, there are a lot of dishes, and unfortunately, we do not have a dishwasher. I would be lying if I said that I was always looking forward to doing the dishes. It's not necessarily that, but I've really tried to work on my mindset so I don't view them as such a burden or as such a waste of time. I have this lovely window that sits just above the kitchen sink so I can look out at the trees. It's an opportunity to just be still, have a little quiet time, and slow down in my day. I'm keeping my home clean, and that's really important to me. It affects my mindset, it affects everything. So as best as we can, trying to view these mundane chores as an opportunity for mindfulness. Now, last note when it comes to food is that we compost. For years, we composted in New York City, and we would keep old food scraps in our freezer and then drop them off at our local farmer's market every Thursday. Then we moved out of the city, and now we're living in a house, and I want to show you what our setup is. Okay, so this is our compost bin. The unfortunate part about the way that we compost now is because we're doing it on our own in our yard, we can't do it in the winter time. And right now it is January, so it's frozen and it's just way too cold for the compost to actually process. So we're in an off season right now, but I thought I could show you anyway. Okay, see, it's so frozen, I can't even open it. We put our food scraps in here and then you spin it, and over the course of time, as you're spinning it, it decomposes, and then we put that fresh compost into our yard to hopefully improve the soil. We love composting because it feels like we're completing the life cycle of the vegetables that we are eating. Rather than sending them to landfills, we are allowing them to fully decompose and then be reintegrated back into the soil where future vegetables can grow. Is it a little inconvenient to have vegetable scraps in your freezer or on your counter? Yes. Is it a little inconvenient to have to walk all the way around here and spin this heavy bin every day? Yes, but it just feels right, and so we take the time to do it. I lived in New York City for 7 years, and let me tell you, it is really hard to live in that city without constantly power walking. Even when I wasn't in a rush, I would just get swept up in the hustle and bustle, and I would constantly get annoyed with the tourists who were moving slowly and getting in my way, big air quotes there, because they were taking in the sights. Oops, sorry tourists. And then one day I asked myself, why am I rushing? I started to experiment with walking at a more normal pace, which took a lot of conscious effort on my part, and I was astounded by how deeply it affected me. That constant frenetic city energy was gone. I could actually feel relaxed in my body and feel kindness towards strangers rather than just irritation. And the most surprising part was that I wasn't even arriving places that much later. We may think that getting worked up and angry at others in traffic or on busy sidewalks is going to get us places faster, but turns out it doesn't. This is why I love backpacking. It's walking for the sake of walking. It's getting deep into the wilderness and knowing that the only way that you could be where you are is by walking for 3 straight days to get there. There's no cars or cell phones. There's no sense of time. There's just you, your hiking buddy, and the natural world. And not a drop of convenience. Anything you want, you have to carry on your back. But God, the satisfaction of reaching the top of a huge pass, or of setting up your campsite and eating dinner in front of a fire you built, these feelings are unparalleled. Okay, see, now what is this? I have no idea, but that's kind of the point. It's a blank canvas for my daughter to experiment and explore and put it in her mouth and use her imagination. Right now, she's only a baby, so her imagination is only gonna go so far, but this is really a principle that Carson and I are carrying with us as she ages when it comes to toys. We don't wanna get a bunch of flashy, loud toys that tell her what they are and what to do with it. We love these types of things that really force her to figure out how to interact with it. Every time she comes back to it, it can be something different. This is admittedly a little bit more inconvenient for us as parents, at least in the short term, because if we don't have that big, loud, flashy toy that can hold her attention, or if we're not giving her an iPad that can hold her attention, she gets a little bored more quickly and more easily. And so then it's on us to play with her, to interact with her, to take her outside and to experience the world, to go on walks, to go on hikes. But hopefully over time, this will really lead to much less overstimulation in her childhood and much more creativity and imagination. So much of modern marketing preys on these feelings of not having enough hours in the day to get everything that we need to get done. But the type of marketing that grinds my gears the most are the clickbait fitness challenges. Get abs in 2 weeks, grow a butt in 20 days. First of all, these are just straight up lies. That's just not how the human body works. When we want to create change, we need to show up consistently over time. Nothing is going to happen in 2 weeks. Secondly, it drives so many people to have an unhealthy relationship with their bodies and with movement. When you're told that you're going to experience a huge change if you commit to this program for 14 days, and then you get to the end of the 14 days and you look the exact same, of course you're gonna feel bad about yourself. Of course you're gonna feel like you did something wrong, when in fact, it was never possible in the first place. Movement is so much more than a 14-day ab challenge. As humans, we are biologically designed to move. We need to move in order to thrive. And again, so much of this is in our mindset. If we could shift our thinking around movement and view it as more of a gift, as an opportunity to connect with our bodies on a deeper level, to feel good in our skin, to build muscle and strong bones and boost our energy and just slow down and connect with ourselves and our breath for a moment in our day, what an impact that could have. That's why my fitness app is called The Playground, because I want it to be a joyous experience, an opportunity to come home to yourself. Does it require more time to work out and move our bodies consistently over the course of a lifetime? Yes, certainly in comparison to a 2-week challenge. But with such an impact on how we feel on a daily basis and how we age over the course of time and how we show up in the world, isn't that worth it? Once you start to open your eyes to this concept of convenience, you realize we are truly surrounded by it. Yes, Amazon, DoorDash, and Uber Eats may be able to deliver things quickly, but can also lead to overspending and the accumulation of more unnecessary stuff in our homes. Even the ability to look up anything in a split second on our phones. Gone are the tiny moments of delight when we finally remember the word or person or thing we were trying to think of 2 days prior. I don't mean to suggest that we can't ever use modern conveniences, because of course, in many situations, they are a blessing. But I do think that so many of us have forgotten that we don't always need to be going, looking ahead at what's next. There's great power in just being. Whether that's an opportunity to connect with the people around you on a deeper level, or to feel more present in your daily life, or even experience the pleasure and fulfillment that can come from committing to something that really took time. There is, in fact, beauty in inconvenience.